Hello, hello, hello. How you going, everybody? Let me know that you're here in the comments, as always. Let's make sure those comments are popping up. I've got my flamingo cup for you tonight. Again, I know that some of you like my flamingo cup. It's not actually mine. I stole it. It's my daughter's. Mine was in the wash, but she doesn't seem to use it very much, so I'm stealing it tonight. Lisa, thanks, Lisa. Hello. No, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I do love these earrings. I get into a habit of having one or two things. I don't know if any of you are the same, but you know, one or two things that you like to wear and just keep wearing them over and over. And these have been worn to death, unfortunately. I can see Tanya's here. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Jane. Hi, Kylie. Kylie's traveling in the car. And you're still tuning in, Kylie. I love that. You obviously haven't got kids being very noisy in the background. Yeah, Lisa, yeah. We're creatures of habit, aren't we? What a beautiful weekend of weather, guys. Let me know what you got up to. I saw some of your pictures in the group today about where you went walking. I was a little bit jealous. I did get out for my walk, but it certainly wasn't in as nice a place as some of you guys went this morning. That's amazing. So as always, hashtag live if you're here live with us tonight, hashtag replay if you're watching after the fact. But for sure, let me know what you get up to this weekend. I do like getting ideas for different things to do with the kids. So share them with us in the comments below. And just a reminder that as we go along, make sure that if you've got a question, you ask it in the comments. I can't always get to everybody's questions to answer them live, but I do try my best to come back and answer them all at a later date. Facebook has to make me wait about 12 hours before I can actually get back on and read all the comments. But I do try and get back on, on a Monday morning just to make sure I've answered them all. So if there's anything that comes up in these lives, it is a live for a reason. And I do ask you to comment because it's supposed to be a Q&A to some degree. Obviously, I can't answer everybody's questions or we'd be here all night. But I do like to come back to them. Narelle's here. Hi, Narelle. Paula's here. Hi, Paula. Jane's driving on the beach at Bribie Island. Oh, I've never been there. Where is Bribie Island? Lisa's been boating and walking. That's fantastic. Mel's here. Hi, Mel. Paula's a hashtag live. I love that. Dear old Paula, she's keeping me in check in the Inner Shred, guys. There's been a few weird internet issues today with the documents, so I thank you, Paula, for picking those up. That's been amazing. Alrighty, so tomorrow is a big day here at the Inner Fit family. It is day 1 of our last 8-week challenge. Yep, this really is our last one for a long time. We actually do not plan on doing another 8-week shred challenge for at least 9 months, maybe more. Okay, so we're not thinking of doing another one before a winter one next year if we do that. So if you do know that you need a shred style program that's got some summary recipes, or you could do with a little bit of extra support in the community to lose those extra few kilos of body fat, I do suggest you jump on board because this will be the last one. It's not too late. There's still time. Yes, we start tomorrow, but that doesn't mean you can't get yourself organized, because I bet that most of the foods in week 1 you've probably got in your cupboards and in your fridges anyway, guys. So it's not too late to join. So head to the website, innerfitforwomen.com, grab your spot if you haven't already. Thanks, Jane. Bribie Island is in Queensland. Thank you. Tanya's doing her walk while she's listening. Amazing. Love that. Paula, shocking, you would be more like it. Lindley, hi Lindley. Lindley, I did just see that you signed up to the Summer Shred. Congratulations. Welcome to the group. That's fantastic. All right, but we're not here to talk about the shred tonight. I think we've done enough of that over the last few weeks. We've got lots of women on the shred, and I know there are lots of you here that are not, and that's not what we're here to do tonight. Tonight, we're actually going to talk about self-sabotage. Yikes. Big topic. Confronting topic, honest topic. It is definitely one to watch, particularly, I guess, if you're doing a shred, but not just for those people. I think this one will actually hit home for too many women. And so I want to make sure that you come out of tonight with some strategies to move on. But self-sabotage it's a bitch, really, to excuse my language, but it's nasty. And I think quite often we don't actually realize that we're doing it. Even though we know we're doing it, we don't realize how we're doing it. And I can see a lot of comments coming through. I need this. It's me this week. Yeah, I know. Guys, I know this and I do it too. And I caught myself doing it last week. For those that are following me on Instagram and following my shred journey, you will have seen that I gave myself a grade, like a proper school teacher that I am, for my first 4 weeks of my shred. And it was appalling. And I caught myself self-sabotaging. So this week I haven't. This week I've been really, really good. So, and I'm going to give those guys an update tomorrow. But everybody does it. Everybody self-sabotages at some point. So tonight what I'm hoping is that I can explain to you what it is and some of the different ways that you do it. Obviously I can't cover them all, but maybe they'll trigger off some thoughts for you in your head about what you do. And I'm going to give you a couple of strategies to maybe move out of that habit slowly. Of course, it's not going to be a quick fix, but every little bit that you can do to fix it will help. So self-sabotage, what is it? It is when we consciously or unconsciously get in our own way, okay? Get in our own way of reaching our goals. Sounds too simple, doesn't it? So we are the ones who stop ourselves from doing what we say it is we want. It often stems from some fear, okay? Some sort of fear, whether we know we've got that fear or not, but it quite often stems from a fear. It could be a really deep fear. So on some level, self-sabotage can happen because of an internal struggle, an internal balance or discomfort experienced when our words or our actions don't align with our beliefs or values, okay? So when that happens, when things like that don't align, we act to ease the discomfort. We want to ease that discomfort by changing our words or behaviors or by reframing our goals. Interesting ones. So for example, I'm going to give you a bit of an example as to what I mean by that. So in the world of healthy eating, we say we want to eat healthy, but when presented with our favorite treat or our favorite meal, that doesn't align with what we believe to be healthy, okay? We eat it because we really want it. In that moment, we want it. But then we tell ourselves, oh, well, the diet will start tomorrow. The diet will start Monday. There's plenty of time. The treat won't hurt. And no, it won't hurt. It won't help us get to our goal though either, will it? But in the grand scheme of things, no, it's not going to hurt. It's not really going to hurt. Before we move on, I just want to say this one thing. I know you've heard me say it before. No food is inherently good or bad, okay? It's how we view that food in alignment with what our goal is. So I need you to understand that no food is bad. No food is particularly good. Good and bad food shouldn't really exist. But if our goals are not inherently important to us on all levels, then we will often find ways to put off getting there. Does that make sense? It's kind of like an immediate reward versus delayed gratification. And this is where self-sabotage comes in. We want the immediate reward rather than working hard and going for the long-term delayed gratification. So as a result, it's not the bigger picture that we need to worry about, okay? That end goal of health or that aesthetically pleasing body that we say that we want, okay? That's our end goal. It's what we are doing to ourselves during the self-sabotage process that is most concerning, okay? So we shouldn't be trying to reframe our goals. We should be looking at what's stopping us from getting there. Because when something like this happens, I don't know whether you've realized this, but you are actually breaking a promise that you've made to yourself. Okay, when you say, I'm going to reduce my processed sugars for the next 8 weeks in hopes that I'm going to feel better and lose a few kilos of body fat and whatever, right? You make that promise to yourself. But then something comes into your life, someone offers you chocolate, the kids bring home lollies, whatever, the husband brings you chocolate or ice cream. If you've got a husband like that, let me know. Mine doesn't do that. But when that happens, you break that promise to yourself. Hands up if you've ever felt like that. I wonder if you've actually realized that it's you're breaking a promise to. You've told yourself that you're going to do something, but when something gets in the way, you're quite happy to break that promise that you've made to yourself. Now, I ask you this. Would you break a promise to your best friend or a family member? Okay? And then just casually break it because something better came up. Would you do that? I don't think you would. I don't think you would. But I want you to tell me. I want you to think about that, right? I want you to think about that. Would you do it to a best friend? Would you do it to your mum? If you made a promise to your mum, but then something insignificant and better got in the way. Oh, sorry, mum, I'm not doing that anymore. That's what you're doing to yourselves every time you are doing something that goes against the goal that you've set, right? We do it to ourselves all the time. We wouldn't do it to anyone else, but we do it to ourselves all the time. And as a result of this, as a result of doing this, this is what happens to us. We have less confidence in ourselves. We have less confidence in our abilities. We have less motivation. We have less drive to get things done. And we have an increasingly negative state of mind. That's what happens to ourselves. Every time we break one of those promises, it impacts our ability to see ourselves in a positive light. Yep, I'm seeing lots of agreeing down the bottom there. Lots of thumbs up. Yep, okay. So, and then when we do get out of, when we do start to have those feelings, we need to start to understand that that's where they're coming from and that it should not reflect on what we think of ourselves as a person. But that's what we do. We inherently think we're bad, we're no good, we're useless, all those sorts of things. But it actually has nothing to do with who we are as people. It's just the fact that we've broken a promise to ourselves. So you don't have to comment below, but I do wonder if this is touching home with any of you at all. I'm going to go through a list of some other ways that you might see self-sabotage in yourselves. So something like you say you're going to get up and go for a walk in the morning. I'm going to go for a walk every day this week, start my day right, going to do half an hour walk every day. Then when the alarm goes off, we don't want to get out of bed. It's nice and warm. Maybe the dog's snuggled up to us. Maybe the husband's all snuggled in. And it just doesn't seem worth it. What happens then is we put our immediate wants ahead of our bigger picture goals. And then when we do get out of bed that hour later or whatever time, then we start to feel bad about ourselves. We start to feel negative. We talk negatively to ourselves. We think we're no good. Another way of self-sabotage, this one is a favourite of mine, and those that have done our programs before, you won't be doing this anymore because you know how many times I've drilled this into you, is when you are on a plan or you have a goal for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever it is, and you eat something off of the plan and you say, that's it, I'm done, I'm useless, it's over. Who's done that? Or that's it, I'm done, I'll start again Monday. I'll start again Monday, and it's like Wednesday or Thursday the week before. I ask you this on that one, why do you have to give up? Why does one meal have to break it? Why do you have to wait till Monday? Just get back on it at the next meal, ladies. This is a big one I love to go through on the shreds, okay? One meal won't break you, so you just get back on it at the next shred. But that is a very popular self-sabotage. You eat one thing off of what you'd planned to do and you throw the whole program out the window. Who's done that one? Come on, guys, let me know who's done that one. I know you have. Another one is things like sitting down to watch TV. Sometimes maybe at night when you know that sitting still in front of the TV can become a situation of snacking or eating more calories when we should be going for a walk, when we should be doing housework, when we should be working, or maybe when we should even just be going to bed to get ourselves that quality 8 hours sleep that we know we need. And the last example I want to go through with you tonight is one form of self-sabotage that is when you are trying to be healthier or even just lose some body fat is not being realistic with yourselves. So on some level, we all still think that if nobody sees us eat something, then it doesn't count. Okay, so we sneak food. I haven't hidden cameras in your place, Lindley, but I know, and we've been there. Okay, we sneak food when people aren't looking because we think that if no one else saw us, then we're not a failure. It didn't count, all right? We don't want them to see us as failures, but the other one to this one, ladies, is, and I love this one, you think it doesn't count if you don't track it. Just because you don't put it in your fitness tracker doesn't mean it doesn't count to your daily calories. I wish it was true because then we could eat as much as we like and not track it. This one is so common, ladies. If you've done this one, you are not alone. I think 99% of the population does this one, okay? People often tell me that they're eating 1,200 calories a day and not losing weight. I could just about guarantee that they're not eating 1,200 calories religiously every day. They're probably logging 1,200 calories. They're probably thinking that they've logged 1,200 calories. But during the day, they're grabbing a handful of nuts, a biscuit with their cuppa, a few lollies from the staff room lolly jar or the biscuit jar, maybe a slice of pizza or a handful of chips when someone else is eating, chicken nuggets off the kids' plate, the potato gems off the kids' plates, and bam, ladies. All of a sudden, your 1,200 that you've logged has blown out another 500. You're up to 1,700 calories. You've got 500 calories that you haven't accounted for. And that right there is self-sabotage. That's what it is. You are self-sabotaging right there because you are not being honest with yourself. Who eats the chicken nuggets off their kids' plates? It's bad. All right. If you want to, I'd love to hear some of your self-sabotage experiences below because I bet you are not alone. Alrighty, so while we're doing that, yep, I can see 6 Bicky todays knowing it was wrong. I threw them in the bin. Jane, you threw them in the bin! Jane, I know what those biscuits, what they mean to you. And you're starting the shred tomorrow and you've thrown them in the bin. Man, if I could literally high-five you tonight, Jane, I'm so proud for you right now because it takes a lot of effort to throw food in the bin. But you know, you have identified, Jane, what your weakness is, what your self-sabotage is, and it's biscuits, and you've eliminated it. Oh, I'm so proud for you. That is so cool. I love that. I do that too. My husband doesn't like the fact that I will throw things out. But I do it too. If I can't have it, no one else can have it, right? All right, so why do we do it? Why do we self-sabotage? There are a number of reasons, but I'm going to go through a couple here tonight, okay? I'm going to go through 2 for you tonight. So there's a psychologist called Dr. Judy Ho. I've been doing some research on this lately, and she suggests the idea that when we set our goals, our brain goes into 2 competing forces, right? So when we set a goal, our dopamine levels are high. Dopamine causes us joy and excitement. So imagine when you've set yourself a goal. Let's say you've decided, right, by summer I'm going to be 5 kilos lighter. I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to be, walking all the time, blah, blah, blah. You've set yourself a goal. When you set that goal, your energy levels are high. You get internally excited about what it is that you're going to achieve, okay? We all do it. Or let's say you set a goal for money, right? I know that in 10 weeks I'm going to be able to save $8,000 and I'm going to smack that on the new car loan or something like that. You get excited about starting a journey for a new goal, okay? So that's where the dopamine is. Dopamine's a happy hormone. But then, this is the conflict that happens. The underlying fear of failing at that goal competes with the idea, and that's when the self-sabotage occurs because the desire to reduce that fear is greater, okay, than the drive to reach the goals. Our bodies always want to reduce a feeling of fear before it does increase a level of excitement, okay? So we have a level of fear. Whether we realize we have that level of fear of failure or not, it's there. Okay, so when we set that goal, there is an underlying fear of, well, what if I don't get there? What if I mess up? What if I become a failure? And all of a sudden, our brain is competing from two different sides. And quite often, our brains will tell us to suppress the fear before it will say to us, no, push through the fear and reach the goal. Okay, and this is where self-sabotage comes in. Okay. Is that making sense with you? So let's say we've got those 5 kilos to lose in 8 weeks, just as an example. But the food comes in. Husband makes you a beautiful pasta meal that you know is not going to help you reach your goals this week. So you eat that. You actually want to grab that pasta because the fear of failing is so big that you just get it done. You get it out the way. Okay. Oh, well, I'm stuffed now anyway. Another reason we do it is learned behaviors from childhood. So, for example, if we had a parent or another person with influence over us constantly telling us that we can't do something, okay, or that we should not do something, then we start to internally believe it. And we believe it to be true. And therefore, our subconscious will actually avoid us letting it happen. So let's say your parent says to you, you'll never be rich. You just got to go to work. That's for other people. You go to work, you come home, you have a paycheck. That's what life is. And so inherently, that's what we do. And the idea of starting your own business or the idea of doing investments or anything like that is really scary for us. And quite often we don't do things like that because of the fear of failure, because we've inherently it's a learned behavior that doing those things is wrong. It's unnatural, and that we should go to work day in, day out. Yeah, Lisa, 100%. Parents saying, finish your plate. Now seeing you do it, finish your plate of food. I actually have another talk I want to talk about on finishing your plate of food, and it's the difference between boys and girls. I've got that one coming up. I might try and do that one next week, but that's a really good one, Lisa. It's actually a chat about why men are so good at weight loss and women aren't, and it all actually comes down to finishing your plate. But the behaviors that we learn as children are inherently in us, and they can actually stop us from reaching the goals of what we want. Maybe you had someone say to you when you were a little, you're fat, you're overweight, stop eating. I had that. And then you start to believe that you could never be beautiful, or you could never be lean, or you could never be fit. Or maybe someone says, you can't look like that. That's what blokes look like. Girls aren't meant to have muscle. So now you think that lifting weights is wrong, or working out is wrong because it's not feminine. It's not what a woman should do. Those sorts of things. Okay, so it's our learned behaviors. It's common for insecurities and self-limiting beliefs to surface when we approach something that we truly desire. So I need you to remember that. It is 100% normal that when you start to get close to something that you've been wanting for a long time, those self-limiting beliefs come up. It's just like one last little push to make sure you actually want it. So on some level, at some point in our lives, we have been conditioned to think that we are undeserving. Okay, we've been conditioned to think that our lives, that we should not have what we want, whatever that may be. That being wealthy and successful is greedy, that being fit and muscular is for men, that being slim is only for a select natural few, okay? And so in order to be keeping with what has been placed into our subconscious, we sabotage ourselves because we don't want to go against the norms that we've been conditioned to understand. We couldn't possibly go against what our parents or our influencers taught us as young children, could we? We couldn't do that. We can, by the way. You absolutely can. It's okay to push the norms. It's okay to try something outside of what you've done. I can tell you right now, especially seeing as I'm a parent, that not everything your parents told you was true or correct or right, okay? But what I will say here and now is that if you have a goal, if you want something, whatever that may be, whether it be weight-related, financial, health-related, whatever it is, go and grab it, okay? That's what we're here tonight to do, is for you to understand why you might be self-sabotaging and then how to get around going to get it. Which leads me to the next question of how can we make small but important changes to our lifestyles to stop self-sabotage? I'm going to get on to that now. Have you got any questions in the meantime? Just going to wait for questions while I drink out of my flamingo cup. Jane, Nana gave me lollies, which made me feel good. 100%. 100% they did. Lollies, it's really hard to explain that impact that sugar has on our dopamine levels, on our excitement and our joy. It's a really, really weird one, the sugar one, and it's like a whole separate topic. But you're right, Jane. Absolutely you are. And I've got one of my kids' grandparents now, loves to give them, they'll have them for a whole day and they eat nothing really but junk food. But, it's fine because it's not an everyday norm or anything like that. So, my kids are really in tune now with understanding what foods make them feel good. And I guess that's all we can instill in our kids is getting them to be in tune with what foods make them feel what way. All right, some of the strategies that you might want to be able to try and adopt. The first one is for you to get absolutely super clear on your why. Why do you want something? Why do you want to reach that goal? Why do you want to be successful? Why do you want more wealth? Why do you want to be leaner or more muscular or fitter? Why do you want that thing in particular? When you can articulate why you want something, you are more likely to do what it takes to get there. And in the process of distinguishing your why, what you need to do is to really be able to feel it. What will it feel like when you reach that goal? What will it feel like to have a certain amount of wealth? Okay, let's say your goal was $100,000 in the bank. What would it feel like to have $100,000 spare in the bank? What would it feel like to be a certain weight on the scale? Okay, what are you going to feel when you get there? What's it going to feel like to have a certain amount of body weight? Body fat levels or muscle levels. What's it going to feel like to have that certain amount of muscle? What would it feel like to have that certain amount of power if you're going for a job? Okay. What will it feel like to have that job that you desire? If you can feel it, if you can truly envision what it is and how it's going to feel and understand how it's going to be a positive thing in your life, then you are more likely to be better at staying on track. And those competing fears are less likely to occur, okay? Less likely. I'm not going to say they're not going to occur because they are. We've just been through about why they occur. But they're less likely to occur and you're going to be more able to shut those fears down. Another strategy to stop self-sabotage is to identify your triggers. Especially if yours is food related, this is going to be one for you. I have talked about this a lot this year in this group and shared with you, and it's definitely something we're going to explore in depth in the summer shred. Okay, and we kind of do it on all our programs when we do them live. But when you identify what some of your triggers are, you can work to avoid them. For example, I'm going to give you one of my big triggers here. One of my self-sabotaging things is when I'm self-sabotaging my fitness and physique goals is sitting down to watch TV. When I sit down to watch TV, I have to be doing something with my hands, okay? And I'm not a crafty person. I'm not, my mum is, I'm not, okay? So I snack. I like to pick at food, okay? I know this is what I do. This is one of my habits. This is where my calories will blow out for a day. So as a result, I rarely sit down to watch TV. All right, I rarely sit down to watch TV because I know that it's a trigger. And if I do sit down, it's normally with hubby. He stops me from eating. He tells me no. And I normally have a big cup of tea in my hand or my hot water with my lemon. Okay, I have big cups in my house, so it takes me a long time to drink them. Footy is a non-negotiable where I will sit down for 2.5 hours a week, whether that be at the game or be at home. And I have a cup of tea at the start of every quarter if I'm home to stop me from eating, okay? So I just generally don't watch TV. So if you ask me if I've seen something, the answer's probably no, because I try not to watch it. And if I do watch, I watch reruns so I can get up after 10 minutes. But anyway, another thing is I also have, and Jane has touched on this one tonight, I also have a problem with chocolate and ice cream, okay? Biscuits, things like that. I'm a sweet tooth and they will be my undoing. When I'm not in my zone, they'll be my undoing. When I'm in my zone, I'll say no. But my way around that is not to have them in the house, okay? That's my way around it. My husband has tried harder. He does. If they're in the house, he'll hide them. But as a general rule, I don't have them in the house. And do you know what? My family is not worse off for that. My family is not missing out because we're not keeping chocolate and ice cream and biscuits regularly in the house, okay? You should never have things in the house that are going to undo you just because you think somebody else needs it, okay? Particularly when it's an unhealthier style of food. Remember, there are no good or bad foods. But your kids and your husband will survive perfectly well without regular bouts of ice cream or chocolate or biscuits or chips or whatever it is that is going to be a trigger for you to self-sabotage, okay? They will survive without them, I promise you. Everybody will be healthier for it. So if foods like that are a trigger for you, maybe it's worth not having them in the house. Like Jane did tonight, she threw the biscuits out, okay? Because she knows she's starting tomorrow. Thirdly, another strategy for reducing your self-sabotage is to get really, really honest with yourself, even if it's just for 1 week. If you just do it for 1 week, you will learn so much about yourself in 1 week. So whatever your goal is, you would focus on that for a week and write down everything you do or everything you don't do towards that goal. So let's use, instead of food, let's use walking as an example. So let's say you set yourself a goal to walk for 30 minutes 5 times this week, okay? You know that you need to get up and walk. You know it'll be better for your health. You know it's going to change your life. I don't need to go into that with you here right now because I've been over it a million times this year about what walking will do for the various aspects of your health. But your goal, let's say, is to walk for half an hour 5 days out of the next 7. So you decide that you're going to get up 45 minutes earlier. You have to allow a bit of time to hit the snooze button, get out of bed, get dressed, and actually go. Day 1 comes, the alarm goes off. You don't really want to get out of bed. Who's been there, right? But you promised yourself that you would do it. So whatever happens, happens here, okay? But in the process of being really honest with yourself, you need to take note of what you're feeling and why you make the choices that you make. So do you get out of bed or don't you get out of bed? Whatever happens, write it down and write down what you're feeling at that time. I didn't get out of bed because I was too tired. It was too cold. The husband wouldn't get off me, he was snuggling up to me. Maybe you didn't get out of bed just simply because you didn't want to, okay? Maybe you decided you were too tired. Or maybe because you think the walk really isn't that important. It's not as important as your sleep. That's fine. Write down what it was. Write it down. And when you do get up for that walk, maybe on Tuesday you do get up for that walk because maybe afterwards, maybe later in the day on Monday you went, oh, I really should have gone for that walk. And then you start beating yourself up and over again all day. You're beating yourself up. So Tuesday you do get up and go for the walk, right? I want you to note then, how did you feel when you got out of bed? How did you feel during the walk? How did you feel after the walk? Write it down. Be really honest with yourself so that at the end of the week you can evaluate with absolute clarity whether or not it was worth it. Was it worth getting out of bed on those days? Was it worth staying in bed as many times as you did? What did staying in bed do to your self-confidence and your mental state? What did getting out of bed and going for the walk do for your self-confidence and your mental state? How did it set you up for the rest of the day? This, ladies, is what we call data, okay? There's not really any emotion to it. That's raw data. Everything that you've written down is data. And it's that data that you then use to decide what's really important and what's really worth pursuing for you in the coming weeks. So through this process, you can also discern what was getting in your way, okay? What was triggering your excuses to not strive to your goals? Maybe you were too tired to get up one morning. How could you get around that? Maybe you could go to bed earlier. Maybe you could follow a better bedtime routine so that you get better quality of sleep. things like that. So you use that data to discern how you move forward. Well, I really do want to start walking 5 days a week because I want to lose X amount of weight. I want my muscles to be better. I want to be fitter. I want to be healthier in general, okay? So you can use that week's worth of data to go, right, well, I didn't do this because of this, but when I did do this, I felt better. So, and that can inform you of how you want to move forward and whether or not it really is important for you to reach your goal. Just as a side note here, ladies, no one really wants to get up early in the morning and exercise. Not even people who do it every day like me, okay? We've just made the decision using our data that our goals are important, and we have evaluated that data, okay? And we know that getting up and doing the walk or the workout, whatever it is that we're doing, sets us up for a brilliant day because it puts us in a positive mental state, okay? We have learned that doing it every day is better for us in so many ways than not doing it. That's what we've learned. We've used our data and we've learned. And then it comes down to discipline and habit every single day. There are absolutely many mornings a week where we don't want to get out of bed. We want to hit the snooze button, okay? It's warm in bed. We're tired. We don't want to get up. But discipline and habit tells us that we are going to feel better once we get up and do it. And if we go and reach for our goals, we will feel better. It becomes a habit you have to push through. These people that get up every day and go for a walk, I can see Rachel's on here. Rachel goes for a run every day. We're not a rare breed, everybody, okay? We're not built that way. It's a habit and a discipline that we have worked hard to build, and we've paid attention to the data that tells us when I do this, I'm going to feel this, and you'll actually feel better doing this than you will not doing it, okay? It's the data that we've used. So, self-sabotage. If your goal is weight loss related and you know that you self-sabotage by eating foods that won't help you reach your goal, or you're a snacker, or you're someone who wants to grab a handful of nuts here and there instead of eating balanced meals, then your week of honesty could look something like writing everything down that you eat every single day. Maybe you want to do that just for 1 week, And then you'll be discovering where you might be going wrong and how you can fix it. I know it sounds tedious. I know it does. I've done it myself. But being honest with yourself is the only way. It's the biggest step towards minimizing and dissolving self-sabotaging behaviors. You have to be realistic about what is going on, which means writing down anything that you grab to put in your mouth that week, whether it is walking in the staff room and grabbing a biscuit every time you walk through, okay? You need to know when you are doing them. You need to know how you feel when you're doing them. You need to know why you are doing them so that you can work out a strategy to stop doing them. Ask me some questions below. If you've got some questions, I'd love to answer them. Now, one last strategy for self-sabotage. This one's a big one. You need to catch yourself in the moment. Yeah? Does that make sense? You catch yourself in the moment. It's really, really powerful. When you know that you are making a poor choice for your goals, when you know that you are making a choice that is not aligned with your goals, you need to stop. You need to take a good deep breath and ask yourself, why am I choosing this? Why am I choosing to grab these biscuits? Why am I choosing to stay in bed and not go for a walk? Why am I choosing to watch TV instead of working on my business? Why am I choosing to drink wine instead of water? Catching yourself in the moment is extremely powerful. It is in that moment that you will actually uncover why you are doing it, why this self-sabotaging behavior is happening. Are you bored? Are you frustrated? Are you sad? Are you angry? Are you just hungry? Whole different conversation if you're hungry and grabbing snacks. Are you scared of failing? Are you scared of failing? Are you scared of missing out? Maybe you know that to reach your goal, you have to miss out on some yummy foods. So maybe you're scared of missing out. Are you just unsure of what it is you need to do next? Are you fearful of something? What is it that is driving you to make that choice in that moment. And if you can catch yourselves right then when it happens, you will be so much further along to stopping the self-sabotage, because you will understand what your triggers are. It is then that you can truly start to understand your own self-sabotage, how it works, when you do it, and why you are doing it. It will be then that you will start to work out a way to combat it and beat it. All right, ladies, let's have a look at these questions. Yep, definitely, Lisa. Discipline is the key. 100% it is, particularly with building new routines. It's discipline. And you'll find that it only takes a couple of weeks of being disciplined for it to become a habit. We go over this so many times, don't we? But it really is. You just have to do something diligently with discipline for a few weeks, and then it becomes habit. Jane, comfort. Yeah, food can be comfort. But when in that case, Jane, food used to always be my comfort. And then I built the habit of going for a walk. And that became my new comfort. Walking is my sanity for the day. Doesn't matter how long it is, if it's 20 minutes, if it's an hour and a half. I turned my comfort food into walk. Like my food stopped being my comfort and walking became my comfort. Even if it's my second or third walk for the day, if I'm in a mood, I will walk. Because if I don't, I'll sit and eat a whole packet of chips. That's the way it works. Any other questions, ladies? I've kept you for a long time tonight. I apologise. Is there anything I didn't touch on tonight that you would have liked me to touch on? Keeping in mind it is a huge topic, and we might delve into it a little bit more during the week, I think, because I know that this is a big one for everybody. So I'll just wait another few seconds, see if there's any questions coming on. Alrighty, so just a few things. Make sure that if you do need help with your weight loss and you want the supportive community, make sure you jump on that summer shred if you want to. We do start tomorrow. Doesn't mean you have to start tomorrow. Doesn't mean you can't. Like I said, you've probably got those foods in your fridge and you're covered anyway, but you can always start a few days later. Same with the step challenge. Maybe if one of your self-sabotaging behaviors is not going for that walk, or that you never actually commit to any sort of program, maybe you want to jump on the shred or the step challenge. This is your chance to do it in a supportive and a fun community with like-minded women who are all doing it with you. You're all eating the same foods for 8 weeks. You're all, doing the same exercise plan. You're all finding time in your busy lives to do it together. So if you know that you're someone who needs that support, definitely go and jump on the shred. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I think this is a bigger topic than 40 minutes can allow us. We might have to delve into this a little bit more during the week. Have an amazing week though, guys. Kids are back at school. Woohoo! Lisa's going to go charge her Fitbit, ready for her step challenge. Amazing, Lisa. You go do that. Everybody get a good night's sleep. Have an amazing week. Bye.